So I'm down in my studio today, and I thought I would read the opening line from one of my favorite books, and I'll tell you what it is in a second. Let's see if you can figure it out. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. So I decided to do opening lines in my vlog because I watch a lot of podcasts, especially on YouTube, and everybody has their opening line. And the other day I was thinking, what is my opening line? I don't know what it is. And then my son came over, was here on Sunday, and he came bounding in. He loves to read like I do. And he was like, oh, Mom, listen to this. And he read this opening line, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I should do. I should read opening lines on my podcast. And I think that would just be really interesting. And that way I don't have to figure out my own opening line. And so I think I'll do that. If you haven't figured out, that opening line was from Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, one of my very first books I ever fell in love with, or stories. But she was my favorite author from the time I was a young teenager. I just finished reading all of her novels this summer. I hadn't actually read them in a really, really long time because I've, been watching the movies, and I was like, hang on, I really need to read these. I'm someone who says I love this author, but it's been decades since I've read them. And so I pulled them all out, read every single one. And I honestly want to go back and read them again. They were so good. So much in her novels. It's not just this romantic entertainment thing that most people love her for. She actually is a brilliant authoress. Obviously very clever, just like in her movies. A lot of the movies have, I think, a really good adaptation. I mean, obviously not 100%. Now, some of the longer, like BBC TV series, are much more accurate and a good representation of her book. By the way, I'm snuggled up because I'm just chilled today, and my studio is in the basement, and I'm fighting a cold, and so I'm just chilled today. So I'm down here snuggled up in front of my computer. But back to Jane Austen. She has a really good understanding of human nature, and I really picked that up in this summer when I was reading all of her books. And I would read one of the books and I'd be like, oh, that's my favorite. And then I would read the next one and I'm like, no, this one's my favorite. And then I would get to, I read Emma last because I'm like, oh, that's my least favorite story. I am not going to like the book. And then I read Emma and I'm like, oh, I think I really do like Emma. So I don't know which is my most favorite or least favorite. Mansfield Park definitely was the longest, and it was very drawn out, and I got bored a few times. However, that storyline, I think Mansfield Park is right up there. It might be my favorite. I don't know. They're all really good. But so when people are like, ooh, Mansfield Park, I'm like, oh no, that's a great one. But anyway, she just has a really good understanding of people and human nature. And I'm kind of been reading past the entertainment romantic value and into realizing she just has this really good understanding. Her character development is brilliant. She understands a lot of different characters. She understands how to acknowledge the weakness in a person in addition to their strengths. She understands the different types of people and represents them brilliantly. And honestly, my biggest takeaway this year in particular is I'm learning a lot about money and wealth, I should say. And it's good. I'm like, wow, there's some lessons if you're paying attention. And she's writing about the upper class of the English culture there. You learn how they handle money, and a lot of us can go in there and look at it as snobbery or something to dislike, but she's not. She's just talking about the life at that status, and I, and I'm paying attention, and like, this is how they make their financial decisions. These are things that they do to keep them to be able to pass wealth down, and they have the wherewithal to make sure they have wealth to pass on. And I'm like, this is actually, there's some really good stuff in here. So I just had a different perspective this last time when I've been reading her books, and challenged me, because I want to have a different perspective on things. And so I learned a lot about wealth building, I think. Some things I've passed on. I've talked to my son about how I want to change some things, and we'll see. Anyway, I don't remember what I was wanting to talk about today. Oh, AnamCara. So, AnamCara. How I got that name. I think I'll take a break and then come back and re-record. I don't know. I'm almost at 7 minutes. So I think next time I will talk about AnamCara. I guess today it was just about, the introductory lines of a book. So tomorrow I will have a new opening line, and we'll see where that takes us. Today it took us on wealth building. So I guess the points that I'll close this out by, the points that I've learned from Jane Austen. What I've learned from Jane Austen about wealth building is live on 10% of your income, invest in real estate, and build wealth to pass down to the next generation. Those are some of the ones that come to the top of my mind. And just have that. I think the biggest thing is have the mindset that it's not wealth for you, it's wealth for your whole family, for your next generation. And you never, you only live on a percentage of what you make. And then you keep the rest in the bank, and you live on your interest, and you build wealth that way. And, that's, you think about, well, that's really should be common sense. It should be. It's not. It's definitely not what the culture is in the United States at all. It's consume, 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 and leave nothing really for your kids. Even the whole concept of, companies having something, a retirement for you. Really, they don't do that anymore. When you would work for a company and you'd retire, you don't have a pension. You have to create your own pension. There's a few, if you're a teacher or maybe a public servant, you get pensions, but nobody else does. So what are you doing? What am I doing to create a pension, to create wealth? What are we doing to pass on wealth to our kids? And I'm looking at this. This is sitting right in front of me. I keep it at my desk at all times. This is something that I started doing about 1.5 years ago, maybe 2 years. And I started investing in silver. And I keep these on my desk just to remind me to change my mindset about money and about, so that's what it's for. And I give, when babies are born, to my friends, I give them a coin. as a baby gift. And I gave some to my son and told him to start researching and investing. I don't know if he will or not, but anyway, all that from the opening line of Pride and Prejudice. I'll see you tomorrow.